Good morning. Well, I've been thinking yesterday, I had a bit of time yesterday afternoon about the financial viability of West Wind and other wind developers. And what I came up with is there's no publicly available information on West Wind's financial viability. It's not a public company, it's a private company. Even though Shell owns 49%, there is no publicly available information on West Wind's financial position. Now, it's extremely important from a farmer's point of view, if they've given a caveat over to a company, to understand the financial capacity or lack thereof of those companies that operate on their farms. So then I thought I'd do a little bit more research, and West Wind is basically a wind developer. So they go through an approval process, get approvals, and they sell those approvals on to other companies. Mount Mercer Wind Farm was originally developed by West Wind, and it was sold in 2022 to Foresight Group after previously being sold to Meridian Energy in 2009. So that wind farm has been sold twice since West Wind developed it. The Moorabool wind farm was developed by West Wind, 312 megawatt capacity, and it was being sold to Goldwind Australia in 2016. Now, Goldwind Australia is a Chinese-backed company. Lalal Wind Farm, which is down near Geelong, 228 megawatt capacity. It was sold to Macquarie Capital in 2017. So effectively, West Wind just develops them, then sells them on to whoever wants to buy them at the highest possible offer. The Golden Plains Wind Farm, which is 1,330 megawatts, currently in construction, the eastern stage was sold to TAG Energy. Now, I don't know anything about TAG Energy, but it sounds awfully like Zen Energy, if you ask me. The fancier the name, the more concerning it is. And TAG is currently owned between TAG Energy and Inga Group, I-N-G-K-A, Inca Group. The western stage was also sold to TAG Energy. So don't expect that West Wind is going to be the owner of these wind developments and the controller of your caveat. I expect there to be 1, 2, maybe 3 changes of control. And it's not just about West Wind's financial capacity to honour their commitments, but it's about whoever they sell to in the future's capacity to honour their commitments. I think this is a real concern. West Wind can sell the caveats they've got on your freehold land to anyone, anytime. But for you, for a farmer, for a landholder, you cannot transfer that land unless you get caveat holder approval. So effectively, you've given over control to an unknown entity with unknown financial capacity on your land, without the capacity to control who they sell to. Now, what I've been advocating is a proper process for wind developments, and I think we absolutely must have a process where the majority of landowners in a wind project can veto the sale of that wind project. I think that's essential. It should have been put in place right at the very start. A smart energy minister would have realised the implications and understood that landholders and agriculture is going to be severely impacted by the restrictions applied by the caveat. We absolutely need a better process. Chris Bowen is not capable of providing that. Certainly Lily D'Ambrosio was not, and she's gone. So we've got one energy minister out of the road. We really need a proper process from Chris Bowen and the Federal Minister. Thank you very much. It's Ross Johns here from the Wimmera Valley Environmental and Agricultural Protection Association. Enjoy your day.
And a very good morning. It's a magnificent morning on the Gold Coast. Jindabyne, I would imagine it's a little bit nippy to say the least. But of course, we'll find out from our new weather forecaster from Jindabyne, Shannon Byrne. what the weather's like. So that's not far away indeed. Okay, just making some of the news around Australia and also overseas. And by the way, we are changing from the Country Telegraph to the Pulse very shortly. Nothing will change except the idea is to get to a greater number, just to all the major markets, because at the moment we have these atrocities happening to the brumbies in the Kosciuszko National Park, talking about doing it in WA and all that. So we're going to stop it. So we're going to make sure we do our bit. Okay, the head of the world's largest oil exporter says the war with Iran, the 3-day war that's going and going and going, perpetual now, but Donald Trump, king of the universe, president of the universe, he has things under control. Anyway, this guy says Iran has already wiped Iran, by the way. What about the US? Anyway, Iran already wiped billions of barrels from global supplies, warning the energy market could take more than a year to recover, even if one of the world's most critical shipping lanes, knock knock, that's Hormuz, reopened tomorrow. Now, if you're a farmer in Victoria and you thought that a new Premier Carroll would be helpful, listen to this. The Carroll government has started issuing 12 farmers with fines of $814 each for blocking VicGrid's authorised, highly immoral, that's what it was. Anyway, the authorised officers were not granted access to their properties along the V&I West transmission route. Good on them. As a farmer would say to them, perhaps you ought to bugger off, mate. This ain't a water pistol. It's got a 12 gauge. I know that because my father had a 12 gauge and I always did as he told me to do. Young farmers without land say they are being locked out of finance, with banks unwilling to back livestock equipment or leased operations as security. Poultry producers, that's the chicken producers, not poultry as in all their poultry, are bracing for the inevitable outbreak of this H5N1 bird flu. It's going to wipe out the entire planet. Anybody that looks like a chook, you're in trouble, or bird. I mean, truly, this is what they love. Isn't it interesting? Government loves to create chaos. Aren't they the ones who are meant to lessen chaos? But they're in there, you know. Or the bureaucrats, I saw someone smiling. Bugger off, we'll make sure we have a bird flu. And by the way, we have how many birds do we have in this country? Billions. And we have 74 mass killing now, all up. 74 birds have died from the bird flu. What about letting natural immunity just take over? Shock horror. Now, where have I heard that before? Anyway, this is going to cost this H5N1 bird flu, which it's set to cost Australian taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars. So there you are. If it's not COVID, it's something. I mean, look at governments around the world. I mean, start wars, create misery for the rest of the world, bully other countries. You have within Australia, we love to bully. We are bullying. Look at the around the Kosciuszko National Park, and some magnificent people there, and they're being bullied. I mean, what is it? I mean, bullying and kill. I mean, that's part of our vernacular, it seems. Let's kill everything. If it moves, shoot it. If it doesn't, chop it down. We've got to stop that. We have to stop it. Too much is at stake. This is the Country Telegraph, checking the weather right now from the Bureau of Meteorology.
It's expected to be a dry and mostly sunny day across much of the state, apart from the very far northeast coastal areas that may see a few hit and miss showers. Morning fog patches are possible throughout eastern districts from about Cairns all the way down to the Sunshine Coast. Daytime temperatures within a couple of degrees of average for this time of year for Brisbane. A sunny day and a top of 25 degrees. Moving on to New South Wales, it's also going to be a generally dry and mostly sunny day across the majority of the state, apart from the southeast that may see some showers about the southern slopes and ranges, falling as snow above 1,200 metres during the morning. Daytime temperatures through southern parts in the low to mid-teens, but grading up to the high teens and even reaching the low 20s throughout the northern parts. For Sydney, a sunny day with a top of 19 degrees, while for Canberra, a morning frost patches clearing to a partly cloudy day with a maximum of 13 degrees. Moving on to Victoria, we have a southwesterly flow that will bring some showers on and south of the Great Dividing Range, but tending more frequent across the Gippsland area. Maximum temperatures in the mid to low teens. For Melbourne, a partly cloudy day with showers, most frequent about the southeastern suburbs, a top of 15 degrees. Moving on to Tasmania, there is a risk of showers across much of the state, but especially about the east and the northern coastal areas. Daytime temperatures in the low to mid-teens for Hobart, a partly cloudy day with a slight chance of a shower, a top of 15 degrees. Moving on to South Australia, morning fog and frost patches are possible throughout southeastern parts, but otherwise a generally dry and mostly sunny day with just the risk of a light shower throughout the very far western districts. Daytime temperatures within a couple of degrees of average and in the mid to high teens throughout southeastern parts, grading up to the low 20s as we head further north. For Adelaide, a partly cloudy day and a top of 15 degrees. Moving on to WA, we do have that cold front brushing that far southern tip, bringing a few showers there. Otherwise, these remnant patchy showers and rain areas are expected to ease throughout the day through the interior. Maximum temperatures within a couple of degrees of average. For Perth, a mostly sunny day with some morning fog patches possible about the nearby hills, a top of 20 degrees. Moving on to the Territory, a dry and mostly sunny day with just the slight risk of a light shower about the northeast top end and also some morning frost patches about the very far south. For Darwin, a sunny day and a top of 32 degrees.
And welcome back to the Country Telegraph. Lots of guests, some great guests too, talking about horses, the numbers of brumbies that are left in the Kosciuszko National Park, maybe. Do we really know? And also talking about some, why young people? What's wrong with the younger ones, the young ones? In my case, anyone under 100 is a youngster, except for Shannon. He's much older than I am. Anyway, I'm just, look at him, he's just going, nah. He uses a mud pack every day. That's because he hasn't got running water and he falls over after a few dozen drinks. Anyway, so we have some interesting things to talk about. Because the young ones, I mean, our polls, they're very good, our polls, and they're very, very precise. But if you notice that there's, all the older people, that's what we need. We need to get the younger set, the younger sound like my grandmother. The younger set need to get involved. So anyway, now as I scratch my nose, if you want, on the outside of it, if you want to increase your bottom line, because Instant Polls is our official sponsor, boost your communication with your frontline staff and gather valuable data from your most important resource, your employees, then take this down, tap, Instantpolls.online to learn more. Now, this week's poll on the Country Telegraph is, soon to be the Post, is do you believe government and environmental organisations provide accurate information about, inverted commas, there you are, feral animals? Isn't it interesting? The horse is now a feral animal. Well, the brumbie. And they're racing Melbourne Cup time The ferals are off. Now, if that was the case, what are they talking about? Are they talking about some of the crowd or the horses? I would dare say the crowd. Have you ever seen Melbourne Cup Day at about 3:30 or 4? You don't want to. It's terrible. Should have an R rating. Now, just use the QR code on our screen, that's your screen too, to vote. Each vote is secure and anonymous and verified by 2FA. You'll have a week to vote before the result is broadcast on the Country Telegraph, soon to be the Pulse, after 8 a.m. next Monday. Now, the link will be published on our Facebook page this morning. Share the link, share the love, and ask your family and friends to participate. It's an important poll, this. Make your opinion count. The last week's was just stunning, and we're going to use that just to remind the government that the majority of people, once they know what is happening, do not want any more killing of these magnificent creatures and our heritage and our history, the brumbies. Before I get into our guest, Shannon Byrne, who's been waiting there and blowing into his hands because it's freezing, not cold here, Shannon, so... we did a lot of work with, and still do, with Ashley Avers, and a dear friend of hers who loves horses and lived in a place called Solvang, Central California, which is near where I used to work, one of the stations I used to work. Anyway, I just want to play, it only goes for a minute and a bit. It just shows you, this is when he was alive, of course, but it just shows you how magnificent the human is and the horse is when they connect. I think is absolutely brilliant.
They call me the man who listens to horses. My entire life has been shaped by them. Studying their language, learning their unspoken ways, stepping into their world and what they are saying to me, moment to moment. Equus has been my teacher, my friend, and my provider. And he can be yours too, if you will simply listen. I am Monty Roberts. I'm an ambassador for the Wild Beauty Foundation, and I stand with wild horses.
And his name is Monty Roberts. Rest in peace. What a magnificent person he is. And just for you, again, new programming, new name, very shortly, probably next week, if we can find the time. And Cam, you need to work harder. Jen, you need to work harder. How dare you have any sleep? We're also going to have a show, at least 1 hour a week, dedicated to these beautiful creatures, but it'll also be from around the world, dealing with horses, because they're the most sensible out of the whole lot. Shannon Byrne is a local Alpine horseman. He is a descendant of one of the first European settlers in the Snowy Monaro region. Shannon is an expert on horses, having trained brumbies through to Group 1 racehorses and they're off. Actually, I have to ask him if he can do a race call for me. He also knows the Australian bush and the brumbies very well, having grown up with them. Now, last week, Shannon participated in an aerial survey. He hopped into a little plane with one engine. Why would you ever do that? And we speak to Shannon today about that. Shannon, thank you for joining me.
Morning, Mike. How are you?
Good. Did you have a parachute?
No, I don't think we did.
Jeepers, you're brave. I only got one engine, mate.
Yeah, I found that out after.
What do you mean you didn't notice it when you hopped onto it? I mean, look,
Yeah.
at the front it's got this propeller. Was Andrew flying it?
Nah, there was actually a bloke called Andrew was flying it. But different
He knew how to fly.
Yeah.
Look, I'm just tell me your thoughts on what you saw. Take out all the other. By the way, you're looking like you have a glow around you, so obviously you're very heavenly today. You've been to church. Tell me what you thought about your flyover, and take out all the other stuff that's been floating around. What did you think you actually saw?
Well, I went with an open mind, Mike. I thought we might have seen at least 1,000, 1,500 horses going off what national parks and the invasive species are putting out there with their 10,300 horses that are meant to be there. Well, personally, I only seen about between 80 and 90 horses. And in saying that, there would have been horses that we missed, and there's no doubt of that. But by not seeing a large number of horses, it just confirms to me what we've thought all along, that there's not the numbers that they're spruiking there all the time, you know?
Yeah, I'm interested because we've been following this a bit, and we sort of, if you look at carbon offsets, and if they say, the ISC or Snowy 2 or whatever, say we bumped on their head or shot in their head, back, ankle, whatever, they died painfully. We got rid of thousands of those. Well, then the carbon offset is quite incredible because those horses, they're terrible creatures. They do this terrible damage. They're making the earth, they're destroying the planet. Haven't you heard? But that's how they work it out. So therefore, they make a bundle of money on the numbers. Here's a question: did you actually see? I mean, you would have seen, a number of dead horses, which is deplorable. How many would you, because we're going to go along a path here, and I'm going to show you something that you're going to go, makes sense. How many deceased horses did you see?
Oh, we only probably seen about roughly around 30 or 40 dead ones that we noticed. But once again, there would have been others that we couldn't see in different areas because of the canopy and that.
So then we have, so just say we'll double that, 60 horses. Yeah. Nothing like the number that they're saying. The ISC have said in a newspaper article, they were quoted as saying we want to get rid of all the horses. And if you look at in WA, they're going to start rolling out their systematic terror campaign there. If you look at what's happening now in Kosciuszko National Park, and they say shot, just say double it, 60 horses. It's nothing like as Penny Sharp said, 1,095 horses. And our 1,095, if you equate that to economics with, a bit of math here, with maths with your with the carbon offsets, it means they make a lot more out of the killing of between 30 and 60 horses. Now, one horse, I saw a politician in Parliament, and he discounted all the other horses and said the great shame was the Palomino with Mataji. But all those horses are very, very important, and they're highly intelligent. So I'm just thinking that maybe, and this is what your flight has done, it's unearthed other areas of concern, which we understand is it's a grab for cash. Get rid of all the horses, carbon offsets, Snowy 2, which is destroying the entire environment there, which is it's shambles. It is a shambles. We have all these factors coming in. Would you go along that lines to think that maybe it is about distorting the numbers, creating the hype or the interest? Oh, we're doing this, 1,095, and even the rallies we have sort of highlight that there is these mass killings going on. We've got to stop it, which we do. But the public perception is that it's wiping out all these horses, and great because they're nothing but feral pest. In reality, what they're doing is they've shot 30 to 60 horses at this stage, terrible as it is, and they're claiming that it's 1,000 or more than 1,000 horses, and that equates to basically fraud because they haven't shot that many. No one's asking the right questions with the state government, and even bang it up to Bowen and Elbow and these with the federal government. No one's asking those right questions. So if they're not asking the right questions, how do we get the right answers?
Yeah, it's a good point, Mike. I don't think we're ever going to get the right answers often. There's too much corruption within the whole thing. Like, if you go back, not just this last cull where they're stating 1,095, you'll see Jack Goff here a while back said that we argued what the numbers were back there when they done that major cull a couple of years ago, and then Jack said they shot 9,000 horses. Well, once again, people went out, covered a hell of a lot of country, and they could only come up with, I think it was around 500 carcasses. So the lies and corruption between Penny Sharp and national parks and Invasive Species Council, it's just out of control, and I don't think we'll ever get the truthful, honest answers from any of them, to be truthful.
And you're right, we won't get any honest or truth from answers or truth from the government or the ISC or the National Parks and Wildlife Service, which I think should be under investigation right now. That's what I think, and I'm not just saying it because I'm really angry at them. You look at the way it's called kidnap, when they had those two women bailed up in a car, couldn't go backwards or forwards, and they entered lawfully. You can't do that. I don't give a rat's what they say. You cannot kidnap, and you can't. And they have silencers or suppressors on guns. I'm sorry, you're not allowed to do that. Any other country, they lock you up for a long time, no questions asked. So I think you are right. We won't get those right answers, but we do need to get those answers, and and it's up to you and me and all the others that are highly concerned with this to keep pushing them on the chest. You tell us the truth. If you don't tell us the truth, we're going to we will find it ourselves, and that's why this aerial survey was I think was a great. I think it's a very good idea, and I think probably we need more. Do you think we need more? Do you think we? You had a small light aircraft, fixed wing aircraft. Helicopters can hover. You can't do that in a Cessna, can you?
Nah, there's always room for improvement on those surveys. But we made do with the best we had for that day. But yeah, helicopters would be better to get out into some of those deeper ravines and more timbered areas where you can slow it up a little bit.
Can you tell me what needs to be done? Of course, we need to stop. Okay, so just think that I think we have a chance. We need the public of Australia to crawl out of their sleeping bags, wash off the apathy, and take notice what's happening to these animals. And if we get there and they say no more killings, what needs to be done? How do we ensure that the park is run properly? And I could say never have the National Parks and Wildlife Service in there again, unless they're controlled by locals. But how do we manage the park properly, and how do we protect these precious animals?
It has to be handed back to the locals. Like ourselves here, we've got generations of experience in it, Mike. Right up until today, we still manage the horses more in private country now, and we've proved time and time again that we can do the job. We've offered to do the job for nothing, at no cost to the taxpayer. And until parks start engaging back with the local community and there's an independent body involved, they're going to run roughshod over everyone as they do.
How do you feel? I mean, you have so much history and attachment, and like others, the people we've met both trips there. My wife and I and Jen, we think you are the salt of the earth, and it's like almost stepping back in time when Australia had your back, which it hasn't now. How do you feel about what you're seeing at the moment? Do you want to go out there and chop 10 loads of wood and just keep going because you're so angry?
It's pretty hard on you when you just see how they've ruined such a beautiful area just through their mismanagement, and areas that were once, well, you could say pristine, are now just littered with dead timber, dog bush, scrub. Just you can't even get into there, and it's when you see that, you just think to yourself, what the hell's this lot getting paid to do? They've just ruined the whole area.
And heaven help us when there's a fire. I mean, and the load, which is horses and the other ferals. I hate that word, by the way. The other animals who are managing, take that out of the equation. When you have a fire, and there will be a fire, whether it's deliberate or whether it's a lightning strike, it's going to happen. Not climate change, by the way. Must not get onto that path on the climate change. Otherwise, you and I will be here. And Paul Peter, who's waiting, will be here till midnight. What do we do then about the fires? And can you see in the next couple of years, because there will be a fire, how do you control it with the increasing load?
Well, I think the only way to increase it is do a lot of hazard reduction burn. I think national parks are obligated to burn, hazard reduction burn 10% of it, which is, I think, about 160,000 acres a year. Now, they'll go out and they'll burn a couple of hundred acres here and there in pretty easy spots where they can maintain it, but they're doing nowhere near enough. So, and just one of those things in the flyover the other day there, the fuel load was something that really jumped out at me in a lot of places. And now we know we had the 2003 fires, we've had the 2019, 2020 fires, and I wouldn't be surprised if we get another one before this decade's out as well.
Yeah, I can see this. It's going to happen. It's not a matter of if; it's a matter of when.
Yeah,
because we live in this country, which we have wild fires. We do. We have that floods and rains and everything. As some would call it, climate change. And then that's where I'd have to shut up because you'll be here till midnight with Peter still waiting. Shannon, if somebody wants to find out more about you, because you're looking very much like Tom Selleck when he was younger. How do they do that?
Yeah, just either go on the Park Off page, Mike, or the Snowy Mountains Horse Riders Association page, and you'll see there what we're all about.
Absolutely brilliant. Look, can't wait to catch up with you again for a soda or a lemonade or something. But you are a magnificent person, and I have to say you're a credit to not only the Snowies, but you're a credit to Australia, and congratulations too for that. Thank you so much. Shannon Byrne there, extraordinary Australian. I have to say that the Snowies, they have, and the horses have actually had an effect on Jen and my wife and myself, others that work with us, Cam. I mean, it's just highlighted how messed up this country really is. Ashley Avers, who's come under a bit of scrutiny, for want of a better word, and Ashley's a great girl, great person, great lover of animals, and she's gone back to the States now because otherwise she would have had to put in for residency here. She was here so much. This is the latest offering from Ashley Avis. It's about the brumbies at the Kosciuszko National Park.
My name is Ashley Avis. I'm a filmmaker and the founder of the Wild Beauty Foundation. We've just returned home to Los Angeles from Australia after several weeks abroad, documenting the events surrounding the culling of the brumbies, the shooting of wild horses by air and on the ground. We have chosen to release the following footage so that it can be helpful for education, for awareness, and for any existing litigation that is occurring in the courts. Please be aware that what you are about to see is very difficult to even comprehend. As of now, as of today, we have 90 days to stop the next cull in November. Please raise your voice, and thank you for being Brumby Strong.
Oh my God.
We've just hiked into the Kosciuszko National Park and we have found this. This is the iconic Palomino stallion that you see in photographs that has driven tourists to come to this incredible natural tapestry, and instead you find violence. Another member of his family, a filly down the mountain, had been violently shot, and we come up here to find this, and this is not humane management. Penny Sharp, Chris Minns, Jack Goff at the Invasive Species Council, how you can condone this and how you can defend this as a method of management.
They did an aerial cull here, shot all the horses here.
Oh my God. Is that a heart?
We've hiked out about 2 hours this morning with Keithy Schober, and this is what we found. An entire family shot down. That is the stallion. And I hope anybody watching this has the courage to stay with me. And I think it's very, very important to see this and to bear witness, because silence and inaction is complicity. There's nothing humane about this. This is a mare that aborted her foal as she was being shot down. That is a baby. This was a family. There's nothing humane about this.
And welcome back to the Country Telegraph. With more than 25 years' experience in management and communications, economic development and government, Peter Dowling is the media spokesman for our official sponsor, Instant Polls at Instantpolls.online. Now, under visionary founder Lawrence Pace, the Instant Polls team delivers user-centric, market-relevant insights that translate innovation into measurable competitive advantage. Instant Polls is a real-time, white-label polling platform built for high-stakes moments, helping organisations ask smarter questions, collect live feedback, and act on it while it still matters. With me right now, we have will be a good friend because of Lawrence's connection. Peter Dowling, thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, Mike, and thank you for the opportunity.
Pleasure. I tell you what surprised me with the polls, that as you got older, you got more involved in having a say on what matters the most. And for example, that being with the brumbies or with the fertiliser and stuff like that, which is poisoning our country. What it did show, though, that the younger you got, the less concerned you had for what was around. Now, in our days, Peter, we always ask questions like, why? And at the moment, I've heard people say that their children, are fantastic. They just do as they're told, do what the government says. And we know that there are many good intentional people within government, but at the same time, it can certainly pump out some bad stuff. Why are the younger ones, or, and it's terrible, I sound like my grandfather. Why are the younger ones, Peter? Why are they so apathetic towards what's happening around them?
Look, I think, and when I cast my mind back to when I was young and possibly yourself, we were busy living life and there weren't quite as many distractions as there are today. There are so many rabbit holes that have been created and left behind in society, perhaps. There's all of the, on free-to-air television, there's 50 or 60 or 100 channels now. There's any number of paid platforms. So there is that much distraction that I think they just get lost in the ether and they can't drill down to single issues, which is where obviously the instant polls is a fabulous tool for drilling down to those. But I do genuinely think it's distraction, and they are so busy trying to live their lives that issues just fall by the wayside. And until they're caught up individually or personally, then you're not impacted. You're not moved to stand up and rise, as it were.
It's interesting. And I do agree with you also, but I think this is where the propaganda or government message, for want of a better phrase, the government message, which many would interpret as misinformation or propaganda, and they have to do that at times to push things through, which may not be pleasant. But I think at least with instant polls, you're going to get a very, very honest and very straight down the line numbers and opinions and all that sort of stuff, because it's just, do you agree with, don't you agree with, what would you like to, boom, boom, and you're given these choices, and it's pretty direct. Do you think that's what you think? Because when you grew up and I grew up, I haven't grown up apparently, I'm just older, but I always questioned. I always said, why? And if somebody said, you are going to do that, if I didn't like it, I made sure that I had the answer I needed. And if I didn't like the answer, I wanted to say something. And that's where instant polls is so fantastic. Tell us about Instantpolls.online.
I think perhaps the ideal contrast is to look at traditional polling versus instant polls and just draw some parallels there. When you look at the turnaround, traditional polls tend to take a number of days or weeks to actually formulate who you're targeting, what the issues are, getting your panel or your participants into the survey. Whereas with instant polls, you can actually read that information. It doesn't need to be processed. It's already processed in real time that you can access the poll question that you have. It allows for instant reactions to the results, and it allows you to reposition and maneuver yourself very, very quickly. With traditional procurement or recruitment processes, it's very time consuming. It brings with it, some clunkiness at times, whereas with instant polls, it allows instant access and you're inviting people, you're filtering them as you go, and it's a really quick process, and your qualification is actually with warm candidates. Now, by warm candidates, it means they want to participate, which is great. Most providers will have levels of authentication that they go through, whereas with instant polls, you have a two-factor authentication which cannot be overridden. And I think one of the classic ones here in Queensland, you may recall this, in the recent few years, I'm reminded of a Queensland Health survey over the name change of a hospital, where they determined that most of the respondents were either coming out of the health department or the office staff of a number of Labor members of Parliament who supported that Labor position in Queensland of changing the name of the hospital. So it was completely flawed. And it was based on the question and the process of recruitment, which was quite dangerous, obviously. On traditional polls, you often have a high error rate, which means that your surveys are flawed right from the off, and they're based on the questions that you're being asked, who you're asking, and when you again cast your mind back, there was a federal election in which Bill Shorten, and there's no reflection on Bill Shorten, was absolutely shoo-in. He was the next Prime Minister of this country, no ifs and or buts. It was a done deal, it was a lock, and I don't recall seeing his name on the door of the lodge at any time. So again, it's how you frame the questions, it's the ability to have warm and good quality candidates providing that information. So as I say, with the instant polls, They're warm users, they're willing users, and they want to participate. So you get a real quality response. And then, of course, we've got a database that you can draw on. We have over 600 questions that are targeted, industry questions. They're focused on issues around HR, around health, around corporate structures, and all of those things. We've got a great segment on mental health questions. So you're actually able to ask quality questions. And of course, everything is so secure, no one will ever know. The integrity of the system is there. No one will ever know how you responded to a question. But it does provide you with fantastic information. And of course, in traditional surveys, they rely on the participants being informed. With instant polls, within the platform, you actually have an ability to raise awareness or to provide education. You can provide clips, media releases, data sources on any particular matter. So as you're going through the survey, you can actually link on or click on a link, which actually helps give you some background to the subject matter that you're interested in knowing. And so again, it's the quality of the questions, it's the quality of the respondents, and it's also the interpretation. And that's what happens most times in traditional surveys is when they get it wrong, they say, oh, we need to reprofile the data, or we needed to crop those extremes either end, and on it goes. So when you don't need to do that and waste your time doing it, you're absolutely in a much better position. And obviously the greatest strengths that Instant Polls has online is the versatility. It can be used in a sales or a retail environment. It can measure satisfaction from a customer. It can measure buying intent, all of those types of things. It can measure the company health or audit your company. It can be internal or external. It's there's flexibility, the speed of the process, there's real-time monitoring, and of course, as you mentioned earlier, the white label option. And the white label option is where you actually own everything. You use our platform, but it's your name. So you own the data, you own the polling results, the questions, etc. And with the white label, of course, is you can enter into a partnership. You could get a sponsorship to help, work through that whole process. And with the white label, it is your survey. It doesn't belong to a pollster. It's yours. You're utilising Instant Polls platform. And of course, it's not a user pay subscription type model. It's a kind of pay as you go thing. And it's based on your contacts, your information, your supply line. So it actually addresses what it is you're looking for. And it really just ticks so many boxes. It's quite an exciting program to be a part of, to be honest, Mike.
I just, because we always have, people always, when you're handing out data, they have there's always that fear that it's going to be misused. Now, I'll use an example. TikTok, which was a Chinese, because data is king. TikTok was basically a Chinese company. They still have a small input, but I think about 13 or 14%. But they were a Chinese company. The US said that we can't have that because they are collecting information, and they were using that data not for military purposes, they were using it for commercial purposes, which gave them a perceived advantage, according to the king of the universe, Donald Trump. Then we have they moved it over to a company called Oracle, which is Larry Ellison. And Larry Ellison, being the great donator to the IDF in Israel, he's one of the major donators. He just gives a lot of money. And so therefore, the information has gone from being for a commercial purpose, it's moved over to because I don't see Israel having that much industry there, would have to be, the data would be collected for other reasons, you would think. Why else would they collect it? Oh, we've got all these names, all this information. So security is very, very important, and trust is very important. What puts Instantpolls.online further ahead than the others? Because trust is paramount.
The trust is paramount, as you rightly pointed out. with the information, it's your information. These are people you already know. If it's your company, if it's your staff, perhaps that you're wanting to find out how the company's going. So there is no breach of confidence. It's not going beyond that. Unless as an organisation you choose to on-sell that, and then there are legal requirements that you would need to meet and to advertise and make your participants aware of that. Instant Polls does not do any of that at all. We do not on-sell information. The information, as in the survey data that's collated and processed through the instant polling platform, that information goes straight to you. It's readily available to you, and it simply correlates every response that's been put through, so you can separate by demographics of age, by where you are within a corporate structure, where you are socially, economically, and that's the only way in which it's kind of drilled down and polarized. But it's not information that is for sale. It's not information that we own or keep. And the minute someone's done with a survey, they can just walk away and delete their phone number from the system, delete any. They click onto the QR code, or they click onto the link, and that's where it starts and ends if they choose so.
We just had the recent poll about the brumbies. Basically, do you want to knock them on the head or not? Which we don't. What was your thoughts on? And it was a great return too. The numbers are very, very good. I think they exceeded everybody's expectations. We had Lawrence and John, Jen, and everybody else working very hard to make sure it worked. What was your impressions of the outcome of that and some of the data, some of the users?
Look, I think it clearly points to there's only one outcome here, and why governments are so oblivious to it is beyond me. I can't, unless people, they develop a position, and oftentimes you make a stand. It's seen as a backflip, or it's seen as something weak or cowardly that you change position. I'm not sure what the catalyst is, but sometimes they just put themselves into a trench of their own making and refuse to get out of it. There is no upside to this that I can see. The information is quite clear that the community is dead set against it. I don't recall the exact numbers, but it was convincing beyond belief. So why on earth does a government entrench itself there and not say, you know what, we may have got it wrong on this occasion. How about we go back to tours and let's look at better ways of doing it? And there are countless suggestions. Every advocate, every community interest group says there are better ways of doing it. Are they more costly? In a dollars and cents term, perhaps they are. Are they more humane? Absolutely they are. Is it a better way to go? I believe that to be the case.
Actually, they've spent close to 10 million now to do another program that saves all the lives and stops them from having a whole bunch of other foals. It would cost under 4 million. So that is not the issue. And the issue of in the environment, that's just true fabrication. It's just, again, misinformation or propaganda. But if you do that properly, do what they do, and they have a process, which all governments do too, by the way. So I'm not saying that they're doing something illegal. It's just a way of manipulating people's, what happens between the ears. But it would seem, though, that it's all about money. And if it is all about money, I'm just asking you to just give your opinion here, not as
I'll take off my Instant Polls hat for a moment and give you a human answer.
Yes, because it is. If you look at carbon offsets and stuff, I don't know what you think, but I think this is all a rort, and I think the climate change thing is. You can keep going on and on and on. You don't have to see it, and you can even the heat wave in South Korea, in Korea, it's terrible. You can't leave your place because it's going to hit 40. It's the worst ever, and then ... Well, maybe not the worst ever, but it's really, really hot. So they can manipulate the truth here. So this thing here with it's climate change and looking after the environment, they're all porkies. It's just it's all about money. How do we then move from the poll to put pressure on the government and forget the ISC, because they're just a lobby group with 130 members, and they control a great deal of governments around Australia. I don't know how. Jack Goff maybe as a ex-lobbyist, but how do we make those our vote count, you might say, with the polls and government, using your experience as getting the government to rescind and go back on what they've done?
I think there's a number of strategies that can be put into play. We have one or two surveys out there now. We need to bring that information together, present it to the government in a calm, cool way, not through radical protest, but a one-on-one meeting with the Minister for the Environment, probably the Minister for, the Premier, in New South Wales, but really target that and provide them with A, the questions that have been asked, B, the number of respondents that we've had, and C, of course, the response, the answers, and really drive it home, because I think there's a lot more support in a city and in metropolitan regions than they might think. Now, I say that from arm's length because I'm based in Brisbane, obviously, and it's not quite as close to me, being down in Sydney and a part of a New South Wales problem and Northern Victoria problem where the high country is. So based on all of that, I think you really need to target those out of the glare of spotlight, but keep media pressure on. The media will be the only thing that I think will bring these people to heel. Protests are good to raise awareness, and that then brings the media along, absolutely. I think there's just a number of strategies there that can work, and it's a case of, and there are some great coordinators doing this body of work now down in the high country, and they're starting to gain some traction, I believe, yourselves on board. I think all of these things are very, very positive and very proactive, and will ultimately and can ultimately win the day.
And it's interesting, it's just been released, which we knew anyway, but it's just been made public that the federal government pay a whole bunch of outlets close to 70 million. So good luck with getting them to rescind what they've been saying too. And it just shows you how important the polls are. Instantpolls.online really is. It's a great tool. We use it ourselves here. We would recommend it, even though they are a sponsor. I have to say, Lawrence and John and yourself are very energetic, to say the least. It's like meeting time, but it actually is. It's fantastic, and I appreciate everything that Instantpolls.online is doing for us here at the Country Telegraph. If somebody wants to find out more about Instant Polls, how do they do that?
Instantpolls.online, and you'll be able to find us very easily. Obviously, your support, click on the QR codes, download the links and be involved there. Contact myself or Lawrence through all of those normal channels that you would ordinarily do. And thank you once again, Mike. It's been a terrific pleasure. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you so much, Peter. Enjoying the good weather and the lifestyle in Brisbane too. It's fantastic. Isn't Queensland a magnificent state?
Perfect one day, better the next.
Well, unless you're on the Gold Coast and it rains one day, or it's cloudy the next.
The Lord needs to water his garden.
Good on you. All these quotes. You see, a couple of drinks, we wouldn't shut up. Thank you, Peter. Thank you so much. This is the Country Telegraph.
What sort of stupid ass grandiose entrance is this? Why do they need a ramp? They were supposed to put in 2 double gates, that's it. Just a double gate. Nice and simple. What the?
Yeah, down here at the bloody entrance to the easement they compulsory acquired on our property, Central West Arana Res. When we met with Ace Res months ago, the agreement, the understanding was, and the paperwork says, they're going to put double gates in the boundary fence, which is over there on the highway, on the road. And then they were going to fence off the easement, and they could work inside the easement. They've done everything but. Nothing that we expected, nothing that was understood. They're going to put this bloody gate ramp 50 yards in the middle of the paddock. They haven't put boundary gates on. They haven't fenced off the easement. They've been in here driving survey pegs. So everything's arse about. Nothing that we expected, nothing that was understood. Like cane toads, foxes and rabbits. Pest introduced from overseas by the government to solve a problem that we didn't fucking have. Pain in the arse.
He's not happy. So I'm just going to go to this one here. There's Peter there popping around. And see, he's very conscientious. He just wants to keep talking. But that's pretty interesting. That's the ACEREZ, which is ACEREZ, Central West Arana Renewable Zone. That's the compulsory acquisition, which means we don't give a rat's about what you think, and so be it. We're going to do what we like, and we're going to tell lies, and they have told lies. But you don't want to get a cowcocky angry. They get very angry indeed. And look at V&I with the Carroll government. We're going to change. We're going to walk on water for you. Oh, by the way, here's a fine for standing up for your own rights. The head of the world's largest oil exporter says the war with Iran has already wiped billions of barrels from global supplies, warning the energy market could take more than a year to recover, even if one of the world's most critical shipping lanes reopened tomorrow. The Carroll government, which is no different than the Allen government, which is no different than the Andrews government, has started issuing 12 farmers with fines of $814 each for blocking VicGrid's authorised officers' access to their properties along the V&I West transmission route. Also, they were authorised to do that by the government. They were not authorised by the people who own the land. They were not authorised by them at all. They came in as German stormtroopers. As we would say in the bush, pack of bastards. There you are. Can't get rid of it, can I? Young farmers without land say they are being locked out of finance, with banks unwilling to back livestock equipment or leased operations as security. Now, poultry producers are also bracing for the inevitable outbreak of H5N1 bird flu in commercial flocks, which is set to cost them and Australian taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars. Isn't it? Have you noticed, though, they've been looking for, they tried, with the humans, unfeathered variety. They tried to, Ebola, it's coming to get you. Oh, no, maybe not. There's this new thing out there that turns you into something. Nah, that didn't work. But if you notice now with the H5N1, and we have also, by the way, the ISC there, we need to spend $200 million, knock all these birds on the head, got to protect them. It might get within Australia. Here's the thing, Jack. Here's the thing, Jack. If you can't handle the truth, that's what Jack said. Not Jack Goff, but Jack Nicholson. Jack can't handle the truth. We have a thing called do this properly. We have a thing called natural immunity. Natural immunity means that your body, or the bodies of those animals, will be able to protect you. Nah, you'll just all drop dead. Look at COVID. And he actually made mention to all those cookers that objected to lockdowns. I mean, Jack Goff is truly he's a very, very stupid person. I mean, the whole ISC thing is conniving, to say the least. So natural immunity, as Peter McCullough, what would he know? Let's discredit him. Let's discredit everybody. We want to keep telling lies. We see through it, and we're going to make sure that we grab you by the short and curlies and swing you from those short and curlies in a very strong wind, which will make your eyes water. This will make your eyes water too. It's
expected to be a dry and mostly sunny day across much of the state, apart from the very far northeast coastal areas that may see a few hit and miss showers. Morning fog patches are possible throughout eastern districts from about Cairns all the way down to the Sunshine Coast. Daytime temperatures within a couple of degrees of average for this time of year for Brisbane. A sunny day and a top of 25 degrees. Moving on to New South Wales, it's also going to be a generally dry and mostly sunny day across the majority of the state, apart from the southeast that may see some showers about the southern slopes and ranges, falling as snow above 1,200 metres during the morning. Daytime temperatures through southern parts in the low to mid-teens, but grading up to the high teens and even reaching the low 20s throughout the northern parts. For Sydney, a sunny day with a top of 19 degrees, while for Canberra, a morning frost patches clearing to a partly cloudy day with a maximum of 13 degrees. Moving on to Victoria, we have a southwesterly flow that will bring some showers on and south of the Great Dividing Range, but tending more frequent across the Gippsland area. Maximum temperatures in the mid to low teens. For Melbourne, a partly cloudy day with showers, most frequent about the southeastern suburbs, a top of 15 degrees. Moving on to Tasmania, there is a risk of showers across much of the state, but especially about the east and the northern coastal areas. Daytime temperatures in the low to mid-teens for Hobart, a partly cloudy day with a slight chance of a shower, a top of 15 degrees. Moving on to South Australia, morning fog and frost patches are possible throughout southeastern parts, but otherwise a generally dry and mostly sunny day with just the risk of a light shower throughout the very far western districts. Daytime temperatures within a couple of degrees of average and in the mid to high teens throughout southeastern parts, grading up to the low 20s as we head further north. For Adelaide, a partly cloudy day and a top of 15 degrees. Moving on to WA, we do have that cold front brushing that far southern tip, bringing a few showers there. Otherwise, these remnant patchy showers and rain areas are expected to ease throughout the day through the interior. Maximum temperatures within a couple of degrees of average. For Perth, a mostly sunny day with some morning fog patches possible about the nearby hills, a top of 20 degrees. Moving on to the Territory, a dry and mostly sunny day with just a slight risk of a light shower about the northeast top end and also some morning frost patches about the very far south. For Darwin, a sunny day and a top of 32 degrees.
And welcome back to the Country Telegraph. Nice to have your company. I'm Mike Ryan. We're going to play a song in a second, then cross to Sarah Michaels, who's sitting on a heater. It's probably very cold there. Sarah, it's not very cold here, by the way. We're enjoying the the weather, to say the least. Now, I'm just going to talk to you about our polls here as I get into our next thing. Instant Polls, by the way, as you would have heard, is our official sponsor. And that's very important. If you want to increase your bottom line, boost your communication with your frontline staff and gather valuable data from your most important resource, that's your employees, then you can't go past Vincent, that's right, Vincent, nice guy Vincent, Instantpolls.online to earn and to learn more. Now, this week's poll on the Country Telegraph is, do you believe government and environmental organisations, the agencies, provide accurate information about feral animals? I hate that word feral. I keep going on about it, but I do. I really, really hate it. We have been playing, I play and I will play again today, every show I play a song from Seahorse Chaser, I think it is. This is one of her new ones. And I think it's absolutely magnificent. It's called What Have You Yet to See? And it sort of leads us into Sarah Michaels, who'll be up next here on the Country Telegraph.
Are you asking the right questions? Have you heard the whole story? Have you looked beyond the surface? What have you yet to see? Have you seen the new findings? Have the new numbers changed what you believed? Is there more beneath the silence than the answers you had received? Are you asking the right questions? see the new evidence? Have you paused to question what the plan was built upon? Are you considering every option before more life is taken? Shouldn't certainty be a must? Are you asking the right questions? Is the disparity in the counts enough to call a stop? Before there's no turning back, before more life is taken. Do you know why these valleys became our home? Have you watched us drink from the mountain streams? Have you seen the paths our mothers taught us? Have you asked what we gave back to these mountains? Have you considered every alternative? Do you think protection and compassion can walk this mountain path together before the wind carries only our silence? Before our ghosts walk these mountain trails? Could you lead us to a better way, where every question is answered with honesty and transparency, where every option has been explored before the wind carries only our silence? Before it is too late, could you lead us to a better way? Lead us to a better way. Lead us to a better way.
There you are. Seahorse Seeker, by the way, on YouTube. And the lyrics are just magnificent. The tune's pretty good too. And have you asked the right questions? And we are going to keep doing that. Very, very disturbing. That's all I can say about the entire process at the moment. And I think that if we don't do something, that's all of Australia, then you can never, ever hold your head up high. Sarah Michaels is a group expert with the Brumbie Action Group. Now, that's not a not-for-profit association of, I think it's about 30-something thousand members, more, whose purpose is the preservation and conservation of wild living brumbies, their habitat and ecosystems. Their purpose is to protect mobs of wild living brumbies, acknowledging the heritage value of these simply magnificent animals. We're going to talk to Sarah today about her recent trip to the national park, the rallies, the petition, and going forward. Now, I'm going to play, before we get into Sarah, I'm just going to bring this across here. We have one of Sarah's videos here. It just goes for about a minute, and we'll come back and we'll talk about it. This is the Country Telegraph. Absolutely beautiful. Sarah Michaels, thank you so much for joining us.
G'day, Mike. How are you?
The question is, how are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thanks. No heater, but certainly have the fire going this morning.
Are your relatives Vikings?
Pardon?
Are your relatives Vikings?
Oh.
You got to have a heater.
No, we're just bloody tough out in the country, Mike.
Yeah, I'm a wimp.
You're not too bad.
But I have to say, it's a magnificent part of the world, and who needs comfort?
Yes, well, fire does that. Horses do that. We're pretty lucky.
You're actually very, very lucky. It's God's country to say, and that's the understatement. You visited the park on the weekend. We just saw one of your clips there. Where did you go and what did you see?
Yeah, so I spent a bit of time around Kyanja. We parked up. I saw in total there were 48 brumbies. Most of the mobs we saw were close to the road. We hiked out a bit and we saw a couple of mobs, smaller mobs, more in the ridge lines. And that's where we came across some carcasses as well. Those carcasses that we found have already been accounted for. And in any case, that wasn't the purpose of my visit for that day. My purpose was to, I suppose, inspire people to keep up this fight. There's very few brumbies remaining, and now more than ever, we just really need to do everything we can. We're in that 90-day window now before the next cull, and we've got our work cut out for us.
Yeah, sometimes I despair because the position we're in, and by the way, I'm a bit like a blow-in. I didn't know what was happening, and there was a story that was on one of the news feeds, and that was the first one we did, and we looked at it, we thought, what a terrible thing to be happening. Surely this is not right. And the further we dig into it, further we understand that it is not right. It is worse. And the corruption and the bullying, the threats and all that coming from those saying that, we're peddling misinformation. It's just appalling. These are our leaders. These are people who are supposed to be leading us to the future. At the moment, you'd probably say we're going to hell in a breadbasket, as they would say, and very quickly. November, which is the start of the next one, I've heard whispers it might be brought forward. We have to do a lot more, and I don't just mean you and all the other groups, but Australia has to do a lot more to put a stop to this, because if there is only they've been varying in numbers around 90 or whatever, maybe a couple of hundred here or there, the next cull will be a disaster, to say the least. ISC says they don't want any horses in the parks. The ISC can go get stuffed. Who are you? You pack of bridge gluers. They're very stupid people, but they have the ears of a very stupid government. And the federal government is not to be exonerated either. They're just as bad. They're all feeding funds, and the opposition in New South Wales are going to pour a lot more money into the ISC and stuff. So they're all stupid, bad people. But if the whole of Australia says stop, then they will stop. And we have to get our message out, not to the already converted. We need to get it out to the public. How do we do that?
Yeah, well, the rally on the weekend was a great start. I mean, and we've had rallies before. Rallies have been happening for a long time. The energy was different on the weekend, Mike, particularly seeing our young people show up. We're finding that young people are speaking more and more about this. And it's terrifying using your voice as a young person. There was a remarkable young girl, Olivia Fitzsimons. She came along with Jeff Court, who you've had on the show before. And she spoke about her perspective. My own daughter, Chloe, she didn't speak, but she was hands-on, helping step in, handle the brumbies where needed. to people about her own experience with brumbies and horses and, living close to the park, our adventures when she goes out and what she sees too. But more than that, they weren't just fighting for the brumbies' future. Seeing young people fighting for a piece of their own history, which seems to be lost on young people within our schools, within our curriculum. In history, they don't teach about the light horse, the man from Snowy River legacy, none of that rates a mention. The Anzac tradition, and that's not small things to carry at their age. And I'm so proud to see so many young people coming out. We need to keep having those conversations within workplaces. It's astonishing, Mike, how many people I talk to. You can sort of map it out. So there's a lack of awareness. Then they become aware and they're like, oh, but, they repeat those rhetorical questions that turn up in slide decks presented by Invasive Species Council at symposiums. So they will frame it in a way that they're told, but hang on a second, isn't this necessary because they're culling, they're killing the environment and they're killing these native species. So you educate them and they're, okay, so there is such a big disconnect between being aware of what's happening and actually knowing what that looks like. So what I find when I talk with people is the more that they become aware of how horrific these deaths are, and the hypocrisy. So a brumby carcass laying in, a waterway. I remember back in 2023 or 2024, when the Murrumbidgee that goes into Canberra, the ACT shut off access to the Murrumbidgee after the 2023 cull because they found bacteria leaked in the waterways. That doesn't rate a mention. Why aren't the ISC talking about that? So it's about empowering people with knowledge, not within the framework that's given to them by the Invasive Species Council at these symposiums, because there's such a danger in that. They're so misinformed.
Tell me about the rallies. We've been invited to one at Byron Bay, which is a bit closer than Snowy's. It's only closer by about 1,400 kilometres.
Yeah.
But again, we'll be there lots and lots of times in the Snowies because we have to do what we can do. So we're Byron Bay are going to have one in a couple of weeks' time on a Sunday, I think, which would be fantastic, and we're hoping to be there. Tell me about the rally at Parliament House.
Which rallies? Oh, the Sydney rally this week. Yeah. So I understand that coincides with the reading in Parliament of the petition. I think I'm not overly across those two rallies. Sorry, Mike, but I know that there are two happening this week. One, I think, this afternoon at 4:00, and another one tomorrow, I believe. Any exposure, particularly, in Sydney near Parliament House, I think is good. And we're seeing more people turn up to these rallies. More people turning up with their voice, with their placards, not afraid to speak out. So I will be following those rallies, but I'm not a part of them.
Let's just, I want to chat about just quickly the rallies on the weekend. We were at Tumbarumba.
Yep.
I have to say, magnificent town, cold, and the people were magnificent. The magpies were deceptive. I had a bag of twisties. I popped into the car to get some twisties, the essentials. Grabbed those twisties and I thought, there's one magpie. Nice magpie. So I gave it a twisty. And then the magpie's brother popped in. I gave that a twisty. And there were so many magpies at the end that I was giving a twisty to each of them. Some came back for seconds, those gutses. But I ended up having like a quarter of the bag of twisties left. And I said, that's it. The wife would like a twisty too, so they lose out. But the rallies were just, I found they were very, very heartfelt, and they were very, they were very moving experiences, and the people there were just your ordinary people.
Yeah.
The rallies are very, and again, it's the same as you looked at COVID and stuff like that. The legacy media and alt media in some cases showed them as two grannies or two grandpas with a sign with incorrect spelling or something.
Yeah.
Oh, they're good people, but they don't understand reality. And that's what they do. They looked at Channel 9 and the other Channel 7 did the same. They would portray the rallies as being well-meaning, but really not quite up there between the ears sort of people. And
Yeah.
the ISC, they'd always have a grab from Jack. Jack would be there. Bullshit. Anyway, he'd be there, and he would have the sensible bit, so that was a slant. How do we get through that? Because if we are trying to attract the public, and the public would see a stop the cull, and they would go then onto YouTube or watch the news. They see that with these well-meaning but not quite altogether people, with one sign painted with bad spelling or whatever. That's what they see, and then they see that these ferals, these terrible, terrible creatures, they're doing awful things to the national park, which it's not. How do we get through that? Because that is pure, as Jack would say with a slight twist of words, that is pure horse shit.
Yeah, just back on your earlier comment, Mike, they do cherry pick the evidence when they're trying to be persuasive with their narrative. And I think the more people turn out independently, we saw at the Queanbeyan rally, there were, many people who had their own devices using that to record, telling it from our side where, there is no legacy media cherry picking evidence to suit the narrative that's been sold to them because federal government, inject $61 odd million into funding for them. I think it's also about challenging the status quo, which more people are starting to do now, whether that's online, whether that's writing into the editor in local newspapers, or whether that's writing directly to ministers. People are challenging that status quo. And that's what we need to be doing more. You know by now, Mike, that I'm a very pragmatic person. I take a very pragmatic approach to this. Everything's factual, rely on your facts. Your facts are there, rely on your facts. And where there is an opportunity, for example, when I did that digging into Richard Swain recently, he's an ambassador for the Invasive Species Council. He also owns and operates his own, river tourist business too. On one hand, when he's got his ISC hat on, the brumbies are destroying the environment and they need to be slaughtered. When he's out there promoting his, river rafting business, the brumbies are iconic, and they're a selling point for booking one of his tours. People need to be calling that stuff out. With my own investigations, I purposely make them public so other people can share them, use them, distribute them, and encourage people to dig further. The more people we have doing this, the more we will be able to find. And it's been astronomical, the number of people that have reached out, over the last couple of months saying, what can I do to help? Or, I was reading this and I found this. Is this of any use? So we're really big on collaboration, Mike, as I've said before. We've got to keep challenging the status quo and keep calling out Jack Goff's bullshit, because it is.
No, horse shit, please.
Pardon me, sorry.
Horse shit. No, it's there are no bulls there. It's just horses.
Oh, according to Jack, there is cattle, cattle now. So,
in all fairness, though, I'm being very serious here, Sarah. I did see a couple of cows. They were in the flock of pigs that flew by. So there are no. But now, here's a question. Have a listen. Nothing. Where are the politicians? Because that's Sydney, Canberra, all over the country.
Yeah.
Where? Shh. No, I thought I heard Angus there, but. No.
Oh, I heard crickets.
Yeah, cricket.
No, and sorry, the timing of that.
Where are they?
The timing of that was completely coincidental. That wasn't directed at Angus. Look, Angus has come out.
Yeah, but he stopped. He stopped.
And people are questioning that, Mike. They are questioning whether this was a grab for votes. And I'll be honest, they can't help to question that. You know, again, I'm a realist. I'm a pragmatic person. I've asked the same question myself. 22nd of July, you would have seen I wrote to Callie Sloan. Point blank, what is your position on this? You know, it's out there in the public. I've written to Albanese a few times now. I've shared those, encouraged people to adopt it, send their own letters, which they do. Unlike Albanese, where I just got a machine-generated, you know, form response, at least somebody from Callie Sloan's electoral office wrote back, referred it to, referred it through to her, and still nothing. We've heard absolutely nothing at all. I am following up with Callie Sloan. There are politicians, you know, as I said the first time I came on here, Wes Fang, love Wes, absolutely amazing bloke. You know, he's not afraid to call stuff out. Go Wes. We need more politicians like Wes. You know, and this is, as a strategist, this is what I don't understand, Mike. This is a really good opportunity for the opposition, you know, to be doing something meaningful here with this. Why isn't somebody from the opposition referring this to the Auditor General, to the New South Wales Auditor General? You know, forget ICAC, forget, you know, when we get FOIs, when we get GIPPers, they're so heavily redacted, you can't make head nor tail of them. You know, in my view, the best option moving forward is to refer this to the New South Wales Auditor General. That can only come from a sitting member. You know, we've put that question out there when I came and visited you at Brett and Diana's. You know, I sort of floated that. I've got something written that's going to go out today. I'll be sharing it with our group along with a template that they can use. And I encourage everybody watching and everybody listening to refer this to your local member. Let's get some pressure. Let's get this referred for an independent audit. You know, and I do say that with some authority. I've sat on many audit teams before. Receiving an RFI from the Auditor General isn't something that you can just redact, black out, send back. And I think, in my view, that's our best way forward. That will take time, of course. So we need to continue challenging the status quo wherever we can. And obviously it's working. There is tangible evidence behind that to show that this is working, because the ISC supporters are coming out in droves. Our attacks, I mean, I've spoken to you 6 weeks ago when we started to see some of those attacks escalate after our first interview on 22nd of June. They are not just daily, they are multiple times a day. You know, for myself personally, I was over in Canberra doing some shopping one day and I heard somebody say to her partner, oh, look, there's your friend, there's the crazy horse lady, you know. So I just laugh at that. That's great. That means that we're having an impact. The notion that Jack Goff has gone quiet, you know, we've got another spokesperson now doing the talking about the WA brumbies, you know, purportedly problematic. You know, he's gone a little bit quiet. So I think that pressure is working, and I just encourage everybody to keep up with that pressure.
Yeah, I think his members, the ones that were, I mean, their past job was to glue themselves to Sydney Harbour Bridge, and that's what they are. They're a bunch of very stupid people. They are incredibly stupid. I mean, I'm actually embarrassed to be a human around these people. Incredibly stupid people, and the ISC. I mean, and that's what we need to. You're right, an audit. I would go one step further. I think a Royal Commission, because the amount of money that's involved and the fraud. You know, killed 1,095 horses. One horse is terrible, and I say that sincerely. But 1,095, which is pure horse shit.
Exactly. There's not 1,095 horses strewn through that park, Mike. I'm telling you.
It does equate to a great chunk of money. And now, if you look at Malcolm Turnbull's Snowy 2.0, because that's his. Oh, I love it. It's my love child. Look at me. I'm leaving this to my legacy, or for my legacy. And he, Malcolm Turnbull, with 2.0 is the one that's doing enormous damage to the national park. I often wonder, though, maybe the others are a bit nervous of Malcolm, you know, because Malcolm Turnbull had a fair sway, fair clump of power. And he probably still does behind the scenes. I'll anoint you to be a creep. I'll anoint you to be a creep, just like I was. Anyway, that's
anything's possible, Mike.
All this is possible and most likely probable because we're talking about enormous amounts of money, chunks of money, and you put everything from the the renewables to the horses and and privatising the park and stuff. Put it all collectively. You're not talking about billions. You're talking about trillions of dollars. And when there's such money, huge amounts of money floating in the ether, you're going to have that stench of corruption. Just quickly, somebody wants to find out more about you. Of course, you'll tell us. What do we need to do? How do we get our message now out to the entire population to say, just do us one favour, go and look at the real facts, ask for the evidence. How do we get that out?
Oh, look, it's been really tricky. That's been our message all along. Look at the evidence, ask those hard questions. Everything from writing to ministers, there's a myriad of people who have done that. It falls on deaf ears, crickets. Until you guys came along, we didn't really have a platform. You guys have given us a voice, and that is something that we are enormously grateful for. I think, continue to speak out, use the platforms that are available, and there's so many of them. Find one that aligns with your values, become empowered, continue writing to ministers, attend rallies where you can, but in a measured and practical way, call out the lies. If people, there's so many people out there who are short on time, that's us as well from time to time, but there is always somebody willing to, speak or write to politicians if somebody doesn't quite feel comfortable with that. If people have ideas, come to us, let us know. We can work together. I think we've just got to keep chipping away at this. I'll follow up with Kelly Sloan's office this week. And as I said, I'll put the letter out there today to the Auditor General. I'll share that along with the template, encouraging everybody, perhaps if there's a mass inflow of letters to local parliamentarians, hopefully with any luck, we might get an audit because it certainly does deserve to be audited. And just on that point as well, with the money, and it goes back to something that we spoke about a little while ago, it astounds me that many of the people supporting this cull are also taxpayers, and why aren't they asking the questions about how their money is being spent? That's lost on me. I don't understand why they don't care about how their tax dollars are being spent. There is so much wastage in this country, and not just with the brumbies. It's got to stop. Use your voice at the polls. I cannot stress that enough. Get rid of Labor. They have to go.
But having said that, by the way, I'm no Labor supporter, much to my father's horror and disdain. But he used to sing me songs from the Labor Party. It's like, oh, Dad, stop that. They sound terrible. But if you look at the opposition, they're going to, I think, $300 million to continue. So I think the LNP, they're just as, they all need to get some concrete, cement for their spines, and get a spine and do what is right, and stop believing stop believing the stuff that we're hearing from the ISC. Oh, they're terrible creatures. Look, they can fly. They're going to endanger, airport. I mean, whatever. So we
need more independence, Mike. I don't know if that's the answer.
I don't know, but I think it's very hard because once you're fighting against the party machine, there's lots of headaches. They have huge donors. If you look at it, we have donors. We have a independent here, and she's doing it on her own bat. The others, they get support from all sorts of very rich people. I think
they push the narrative, don't they? That's exactly why donors step in. It's to push.
But I think what we need to do is, and at the moment, we need to be a collective voice, not a voice of kings or queens. and we need to do a lot more, become more collective. And I think there's so many good-meaning people and organisations, and this is where we have to be strong and forget all sorts of other issues and just do what is right. The only issue is stop the killing of the brumbie. There is
100%.
nothing else. Nothing else.
We can't let these guns be fired in November. We just can't. There is nothing to substantiate any further culls. There's nothing to substantiate culls that have occurred, but there is absolutely nothing whatsoever to substantiate any further culls going ahead. You know, as I've said it before, Mike, I'll say it again. I stand by it. They're currently in contravention of the Act as it stands, you know, and we know with that article from the Albury rally a couple of weeks ago, Jack Goff came out, said eradication. You know, we knew it. We called it years ago. It's now on public record. We've got to stop it. Not one more bullet fired.
Interesting. You said Jack Goff came out. I thought, oh, hello. But sorry. But, you know, king one day, queen the next. Who knows? Thank you so much for your time. Again, somebody wants to find out more about your organisation. Where do they go to?
Yeah, just come over to Brumbie Action Group. We're the group with about 33,000 members. There is another imposter group. I'm not going to comment on that or give them any airtime. Brumbie Action Group. I'm on Facebook. My email also smichaelsconsulting@outlook.com. Feel free to get in touch. And again, like, so grateful for everybody who has come forward with information and, you know, offered to help. And I encourage that. I encourage people, you know, to keep asking questions. It's so important.
I totally agree with you. I want to give you a big hug right now. Couldn't give you one last time. You disappeared. I mean, I looked around. There was nobody there. I saw your children one stage rolling on the, I think people called it grass, but it looked like...
Oh, they were too busy up bloody getting ice out of the puddles and coming back down.
You know, I sat there. I'm sure they're going to call the police. I thought I was doing something rude under the table. I was shivering. I have never been so cold in my entire life.
Oh, you should see it now. It's, you know, there's a bit of snow around there at the moment. I think I saw something Brett posted last night. It's absolutely beautiful. So maybe, you know, come down. We've got a late winter this year. It's been quite mild. That was mild, Mike.
No, it wasn't. No. I had a very, very high voice. Anyway, that's another story. Sarah Michaels, thank you so much for your time. This is the Country Telegraph. We're going to play that video from Sarah's one more time. There are other videos, by the way, on Facebook, and everybody's circulating these. They are very beautiful, and they do bring a tear to the eye. I go through certain things before I start, and one of those is I usually have a good ball, because there's always a song. We just played a song before from Seahorse Seeker, and they are also meaningful. And you think, why is this happening to these absolutely gorgeous animals? Anyway.
I'm pretty tough. Like, I'm tough as nails. It takes a lot to break me. But I, you know, like, full disclaimer, Monday night, I got back home and I just, it's harrowing. The energy's changed up there, and those poor horses, they are carrying so much trauma, and we just need to keep fighting to make sure that they don't have to carry any more trauma brought to them by these horrible humans.
We need to give each of us a hug, and then extrapolate to the horse and give them a massive hug.
Yeah.
One horse on the broadcast at Tumbarumba, it started to nibble my neck, and I thought, oh, hello, my wife's feeling quite affectionate today. But I realised that my wife hasn't got those ears and the long now anyway. But they're magnificent creatures, and
they really are. They are incredible.
God's creatures.
They are.
Thank you so much. This is the Country Telegraph.
This one is a really important one, a big one. In the past 2 years, Mark Banasiak has done an incredible job of leading a upper house inquiry into the impact of renewable energy zones. And finally, yesterday, the report came out. There are so many key findings in it, but I think something really important to note is that we have a Labor-dominant government, and so there were a huge number of amendments made trying to censor the information that is shared about this rollout. And even with the censorship, the report is still scathing. So firstly, one of the biggest ones, this wording's pretty important. There has been predictable and avoidable harm to rural and regional New South Wales as a result of this rollout. Predictable and avoidable harm. Energy Co, the government body responsible under Minister Sharp for rolling this out, has been noted multiple times within the report and the findings and the recommendations to need structural reform, to need leadership issues addressed, to need a bunch of problematic processes considered. So that's a massive one because they're who we deal with every day here. And where's the government oversight of this taxpayer-funded body? It says in the report, its findings are that the consultation processes did not always lead to meaningful adjustments or changes or outcomes. So essentially it's saying that the consultation process itself is hugely flawed. And again, it reminds us, why do we even bother trying to engage with this agency? The next one is that the economic benefits coming into regional communities is not actually legitimate or found. Minister Sharp, she spruiks that every time as her little motto for why we should be so grateful that they're pushing this and forcing this on us. Another one was that the land acquisition process is inadequate. It just shows that the process we're about to be forced through is flawed and problematic. And so I'm wondering what they're going to do about that recommendation. The last one was every time that we say there's an issue, Energy Co or Minister Sharp's team say you can refer it to the Water and Energy Ombudsman. And this report shows that that is not a truly independent ombudsman. Again, it highlights the flawed processes within this government rollout. The overall report, as I said, is scathing. Have a read. I'm really hoping that Premier Minns actually acts on some of this because it's up to the government to decide how they respond to one of these inquiries that goes for years. And so let's see if he actually takes on any of the recommendations. Let's see if he puts a halt before we hit all these other issues that the other zones are already talking about.
And welcome back to the Country Telegraph, soon to be the Pulse.today. We have two special guests. Esther Whiting is a veteran Brumbie advocate and founder of Silver Brumbie Project, and Ian Marsh, who's been so kind to wait. I know he's got issues, but I don't mean issues, I mean just he has to be out at a certain time, should plan for lunchtime. I talk too much. Ian Marsh is the president of the Gulgong RSL sub-branch. Originally from Gulgong, he served for 30 years in the Australian Army, attaining the rank of colonel. Gee, I almost went to Duntroon. He would have been my boss, probably. So he's a veteran of active service in the Middle East and also Afghanistan, and coordinated disaster and also pandemic responses in Australia. He was awarded a conspicuous service cross for his service as a commanding officer and US Meritorious Service Medal for his service in Afghanistan. He deserves a nation big thank you from Australia. Truly, anyone that serves with the military overseas, and it's for our own good, deserves a big pat on the back and a big hug. He retired from the ADF in 2022 and is now semi-retired, don't believe that at all, owns and operates a small cattle farm. There you are, he's not semi-retired at all, probably working harder than ever, and dedicates his time to supporting veterans in his community. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us, Mike.
Yes, I'm just with yourself. Thank you very much for your service for our country. I think you do. Anybody that serves with our Defence Force deserves a big pat on the back and a hug where possible, because you do a magnificent job. So thank you, sir.
Thanks, Mike.
To both of you, how did you become involved with Brumbies?
Well, I actually approached Ian. I reached out via email, I think, and then we spoke over the phone, and Ian invited me to come down to the RSL club. And with myself, I brought my laptop and I presented just a little slideshow of my project or my idea, and I was requesting support from the RSL, and yeah, Ian was kind enough to offer his support.
Yeah, from my perspective, Mike, Esther approached us with a plan, a vision to train, care for, nurture brumbies, but also to provide a service to veterans in the Central West. So her enterprise, her proposal gave us a vision that was a two-way street, support to the brumbies, protecting a valued asset for the country, but also to provide an opportunity to provide veteran services to a reasonably underserviced veteran community in the Central West of New South Wales.
You must both be highly distressed at what's happening at the moment to the brumbies in the Kosciuszko National Park, what happened to the brumbies in the Bogong High Plains, and what they're proposing to do to brumbies in WA.
Yes, it's very distressing. I've only come on the scene within the Brumby community for about the past 3 years now. I've been documenting certain areas. I went down to Victoria and I visited Barmer. Unfortunately, I did not get to see any of those brumbies because they had already all gone. I think there are still some within the community excuse me, that have been domesticated now. But I also go and look at the Barrington Tops area brumbies and some out here in central New South Wales in my local area as well.
Esther, tell us about the Silver Brumby project.
Yeah, it was an idea I sort of gathered from, I guess my own experiences through RSL Life Care. They run a equine therapy program for veterans, and there are several different groups that do this. However, they use domestic horses in their program. And so I sort of gathered from another organisation overseas in the US called At Ease Horsemanship. And they offer this same service to all their ex-servicemen and women, so police force, nurses, military, firefighters, and they use their Mustangs. And I was fortunate enough actually last year to go over and see the Anarqui Mustang herd and the Little Book Cliffs herd in Colorado, and they were beautiful.
Ian, could you just tell me about how the RSL is involved in this project? And I have to say, I feel very relieved that the RSL is doing something, because sometimes it's easier to say nothing, and at the end of the day becomes it's something that by saying nothing, by being just not involved, it does show you up a bit. I'm trying to be polite here. So tell us about how the RSL is involved in the project.
Mike, it's in its infancy. Certainly, I have offered to support Esther at the sub-branch level. We are a small regional sub-branch of 67 members, 58 service members here in Golgong. She required our assistance through the use of an ABN and some assistance with writing of grant applications. So it's not a wholesale RSL New South Wales approach. It is a bottom-up starting point for Esther. We have engaged with Western Districts also to start to garner interest, but at this stage, it would be incorrect to say that this is an RSL focus at this stage. But it is certainly a focus of my sub branch and growing into the Western Districts arena.
While you're here, Ian, we play often, and it's just clips from a movie, The Light Horseman, which is depicting the Battle of Beersheba. I think 1914 or 8? Anyway, a massive battle. Australians and New Zealanders. why you would ever fight a war that way, because going straight in with the enemy shooting at you shows you that you're very brave, but it's not what we do these days. But then they didn't have helicopters, so there may be that part of the problem. Helicopter, they wouldn't need the horses, but regardless, the Brumbie and the Australian troops straight head on into the enemy's guns and cannons and all sorts of stuff. Very brave. As a soldier, I don't want to put you on the spot here, but does it disturb you that the horse, a highly intelligent creature, died with our soldiers on the front line? Does it disturb you that we're the descendants of these horses, and they've proven through DNA that there are descendants of these horses, that we treat these equine heroes the way we are?
Whether you're a veteran or not, Mike, I can't imagine anybody not being disturbed by the inhumane images that we're seeing with the treatment of the Brumbies. But certainly the light horse charge in Bathsheba, the last cavalry charge, even though it wasn't cavalry, it was light infantry that we saw in Ever, is a piece of our national folklore, as much a part of our Australian image and culture as the man from Snowy River. These are aspects of our post-colonisation culture that are front of mind and part of the psyche of our nation, and to see what's happening, to the descendants of the whalers that were across in the First World War, and all those horses that didn't come back. We laud our military working dogs today. The horse in the First World War was a central component of our fighting capacity, our capacity to move swiftly, decisively, and to see us now targeting them for some difficult to comprehend environmental purpose is disturbing and very disappointing.
It's an absolute lie and a travesty, to say the least, and it's a bad indictment of what this country should be. And I could talk forever, but I won't, because I know you have to get out soon, probably off to the rifle range or something like that. I don't know what you're going to do, jump out of an aeroplane. I don't know why you'd ever want to jump out of a perfectly good aeroplane, by the way, unless you want to get down quicker. Anyway, Esther, what assets do you already have? What about land and Brumbies and any vets crying out for help?
I do own a small property of my own, and I do have a set of yards there. I have a round yard and some cattle yards that are sturdy enough to hold some Brumbies. I have 2 Brumbies of my own. They're only little colts at the moment. But yes, I've already been contacted by people within the public who are willing to donate things like yards and to come in and help build them. So we would obviously be relying on some of the funding if we are successful in that application, but also the kind donations from people within the community.
Yeah, it's I'm so impressed. A friend of ours, Shane Healy, also uses horses to help the vets. Esther, how many Brumbies do you see participating?
I think to begin with, because they can be quite different to handle compared to domestic horses, particularly when they are young, or they've spent quite a lot of time out in the wild, I would probably only be comfortable with starting with a group of 6 to 10.
Incredible. What about the next steps? Tell me bit by bit, and when do you hope to open?
I suppose the financial side of things is something we have to tackle first. So the application process will open up again come early next year. I think it's January, within the first couple of weeks of January. And from there, it will probably take another couple of months to get a response. from the Veterans Wellbeing Grants, and failing that, there are other options both within government organisations and public organisations that offer financial support.
Ian, what can we and the public do to help?
Look, I think the primary piece is once Esther gets the application processes through and gets some seeding funding. It's about us being able to leverage off whatever success she may achieve with those grants, and we'll support her right throughout that grant process. And as the enterprise gets moving, she's got a workforce of 67 veterans in the Gulf of RSL sub-branch to assist her to establish herself. But then it's about awareness. As for your previous interview, Mike, we all need to be aware of what is happening, who is out there trying to take meaningful action to stop it and to remedy the adversity that's resulting from the cull, and then getting behind those pockets of excellence that are seeking to make meaningful change to improve things, and that's word of mouth. It's social media, it's money, and it's calluses on hands, dust on boots, out doing the work to achieve what Esther and her fellow Brumbie advocates are trying to achieve.
If somebody wants to find out more, Esther, how do they do that?
I do have several social media platforms under the name of the Silver Brumbie Project, and that is across Instagram, YouTube, and also Twitter. Not fantastic with Twitter. I'm still sort of testing the waters with that one, but yeah, you can certainly still find me there. We do have a website also set up, but there is nothing on it yet. We're still waiting for that confirmation on the funding to begin.
I was going to suggest that you get Ian to do it, but he, being with the military, he always got the woe too. Warrant Officer second class to do that for him. Find that for me now. I don't know how it works. Sorry about that, Ian. I shouldn't do that. I'll be out in the parade ground tomorrow morning, bright and early. Thank you so much for your time. Isn't it terrible? He's talking about the army. He doesn't know much about it. I was with the reserve. I didn't go any further because I thought I can't jump out of aeroplanes. Now, thank you very much to both of you. I have to say you're doing a magnificent job, and I think we need to do all we can for the Brumbies, of course, and for our veterans, because they did their bit. We have to do our bit, simple as that. I want to play this song, Ian, and I know you're in a hurry, but hang around if you could just watch it. I'm going to play this song. We play it every day. Normally I open the show with it. This is just depicting the Battle of Beersheba and the Brumbie and all that sort of thing. And it's very, very patriotic, and it brings a lump to my throat. Esther and Ian, thank you so much for your time. This is the Country Telegraph.
They carried stockmen. They carried soldiers. They carried legends from Beersheba to the mountains of the high country. The thunder herd still rides. Skies and snow gums bow in winter light. 1,000 shadows cross the dawn, their wild hearts burning through the night. Their blood remembers campfire smoke, long dusty trails and stockmen's hands. The freedom of a younger world still running through this ancient land. Listen. The mountains know their language. Listen. mountain. The valleys speak their names. They are the thunder rolling beneath the southern sky. From Beersheba's fields of glory to the mountains standing high, no chains can hold them, no walls can tame them. The spirit of the light horse rides, they are the thunder, and the mountains know their names. Across the burning Sinai sands, they carry fate in steady hands. Through dust and fire they thundered on toward Beersheba's fateful dawn. Horse and rider forged as one, a rolling wave against the guns. The desert shook beneath their stride as Australia rose in pride. They are the thunder rolling beneath the southern sky. From Beersheba's fields of glory to the mountains standing high, no chains can hold them, no walls can tame them. The spirit of the light horse ride, they are the thunder, and the mountains know their name. And standing on the highest ridges, when the world below is gone to sleep, the ancient stallions face the darkness, guarding secrets they still keep. They remember every stockman, every drover, every mountain horseman, every charge, every rider who never came home, every horse who carried him there. Ride on, ride on. Dark and wide, the spirits of the old light horse still ride beside their stride. No king commands them, no empire owns them, for freedom runs within their blood, as surely as rivers shape the land. They are the thunder. To the high country, the thunder herd still rides.
There you are. That's a pretty moving piece of video, I think. Fantastic. That's about it, just about it. I'm going to just play a couple of things. We feature often a guy who's got stage 4 cancer, and he got that, he believes, from Roundup, which has glyphosates in it. And he didn't know any better. He had a grape block, and used to just roll around and do things, because as you do, you spray the Roundup on the weeds and gets rid of all the weeds, and in his case, him too, eventually. So he's just posted this new one. It's about Monsanto. They make Roundup, been banned in 70 countries. And this is some of his comments and thoughts on the protection that the King of the Universe, President of the entire universe, Donald Trump, has decided on. The protection for Monsanto, who, if you look at their records, are most likely responsible for the deaths of many, many people.
Big news in the glyphosate world in the last month is that the Tronald Dump, that's what my kids call him, administration granted Bayer Monsanto, the company that produce Roundup or glyphosate, immunity. So they can't be sued by the people who are currently suing them. Now, this was a massive admission of guilt and a last-ditch effort to save their company. It has saved them, apparently, a predicted $7 billion. And they'd already paid out $11 billion to 114,000 people. And now these other people who say that glyphosate caused their non-Hodgkin's lymphoma can't sue them. So it's pretty bloody devastating, but it's going to make a great ending, or maybe like an ending that will lead into a sequel for a movie that's coming out called Monsanto. Now, this is all based on Kerry Gillam. She's an investigative journalist, her book, The Monsanto Papers, and it's got some big Hollywood names in it. Jonathan Bailey is playing Brent Wisner. He's the lawyer that I spoke to a couple of weeks ago, did a podcast with, and he's the first guy to ever sue successfully. He and his firm sue Monsanto for glyphosate causing cancer, and he knows the science better than the scientists. He is amazing. His knowledge is incredible. And we spoke about the Australian court case as well, the class action, which was 800 Australians saying that this caused their non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which was thrown out in 2024, which he said was a joke. Then Laura Dern, she's the bad guy. She's the Monsanto toxicologist. Lakeith Stanfield is the cancer patient who was the lead plaintiff in this case. And then Greg Kinnear, but my favourite, David Duchovny. He's back from the X-Files. And it's funny because, you know, that was all about aliens. And this is kind of, you know, the reason we're spraying this, the reason we have this mentality towards farming and towards weeds and towards us is because we humans believe that we are alien to this planet. It's so strange. It's like us versus nature when we don't acknowledge the fact that we are nature. And if we kill it at the level of the soil, it's going to affect us. If we undermine soil health, we are simply undermining our gut health. And now 90 whatever percent it is, look it up, of autoimmune disease and chronic disease is all related to gut health. You know, we're learning a huge amount about all sorts of things, not just what glyphosate's doing, but about human biology, our place here, all that sort of stuff. This movie's going to be good. Might have a screening in the winery.
So many places where they're using 1080 poison baits.
Yeah, it's an absolute travesty, mate.
It really is.
1080 baits, if you've seen what a 1080 bait does to a dog, it's one of the most horrific things you'll ever witness. And the second you see something like that, you'll be a big advocate for getting rid of 1080 baits. It's not the way to solve the problem with wild dogs and foxes and things like that.
On Sunday, August the 30th, I got a phone call from my husband. I wasn't here, I was out in Aramac staying with family. And he rang me very distressed and crying on the phone and told me that Tippy was dead. And he then described to me how that happened. He said he was inside, heard Tippy outside yelping, which progressively rapidly went to screaming, and he was thrashing him, throwing himself around. He went under my car, which is parked on the veranda in a carport, threw himself under the car and up under the wheel arch, obviously looking for sanctuary. Greg tried to grab him and got hold of his leg, and as he did that, he just dropped dead. So he rang me and told me about this, so I was obviously quite distraught as well. And then he had to go into town, into Bundaberg, to pick up for a pre-arranged appointment. And when he came home a couple of hours later, Faye, our Maremma dog, was also dead. So within a couple of hours, we're not sure, any time between 9:30 and midday is when she died on that morning. So yeah, Greg took them to bury them, and he took Ted with him when he buried these two dogs, and Ted was there with him. And after Greg finished burying them, he wouldn't leave. He just laid, he sat, moved around. He wouldn't leave the gravesite. So Greg had to literally pick him up and take him away. So he knew his mates were in there. So yeah, Sorry.
1080 is not a humane poison, and despite people's claims that it is humane, we now recognise that that's not the case. It's not good enough to pretend to ourselves that it's humane and keep on doing the same old thing that we've been doing for years. There's no excuse to keep on using a poison that is not humane and that we know is not humane.
And that we must save the brumbies, because the horse crap that is coming out from the New South Wales government and other government bodies, the ISC, and lack of intelligence, truly just slippery, slimy shits. That's all they are. Got to stop. We're going to do our best, because we're going to come after you, ISC. We're going to come after you. We're going to get our investigative journalists to come after you. Cross my heart. Pieces of horse shit. That's all you are. And by the way, I do have a bit of a ball sometimes because it's terrible. So, ISC, Chris Minns, you weak, pathetic prick, and Penny Sharp, go back to your damn horror film. We're coming after you. But we're going to do it properly. We're going to make sure that we, along with others, are going to expose every little thing you've done, whether you've farted in a restaurant or not. We're going to come after you. This is the song I always leave. If you ever want any inspiration, any sense of purpose in life, just listen to the lyrics of this song. Have a good one. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Tell my fool I kept on running. Tell my mare I heard her cry. Tell the mountain I belonged here. Tell the wind I said goodbye. Brumby hoofprints etched for generations in the snow. I've watched the foals become the mares, the stallions old and slow. Here in the snowy mountains, where my life began, across hills, ridges, and open plains, my fellow brumbies ran. I've led them through winter storms, drought and summer rain, but I can't outrun what follows now. Shield my family from this pain. My ancestors crossed the oceans, but I was born upon this land. These mountains are my birthplace, the Snowies are my clan. These mountains hold our memories, our family history. If home is where you're raised, then this is where we should be. Tell my foal I kept on running. Tell my mare I heard her cry. Tell the mountain I belonged here. Tell the wind I said goodbye. Stay close beside me, little one. The thunder isn't rain. The sky itself is hunting us, and I cannot stop the pain. I gather those I love and turn to There's nowhere left for us now. These mountains hold our memories, our family history. If home is where you're raised, then this is where we should be. I fall upon the ground, thunder again and again. My heart grows quiet as bullets rain. I thought I had more seasons, more rivers left to roam, more sunrises with my Kosciuszko clan before the mountains called me home. Tell them I was born here, my grandfathers fought their wars. Remind them that this was our home. The snowy mountains were ours. Tell my fool I knew her fear. Tell my mare I heard her call. Tell my fool I tried to save them. Tell the wind how brumbies fall. Tell my fool I kept on running. Tell my mare I heard her cry. Tell the mountain I belonged here. Tell the wind I said goodbye.